It was Friday, March 13th, 2015. I was living in a small, older house in a quiet suburb of New Jersey. My husband was away on a business trip, so it was just me and my 2-year-old daughter. Because it was a mild spring night, I made a mistake. I left the small window in the laundry room cracked open about 3 inches to let the house air out. I figured the screen was enough to keep the bugs out, and the window was too small for anyone to fit through. I was wrong. Around 2:45 a.m., I was woken up by a faint sound. It was a rhythmic, wet, scratching noise coming from the hardwood floor at the end of my bed. In my half-asleep state, I reached out my hand expecting to feel my golden retriever Cooper. I figured he was either just dreaming or scratching at a flea. But then, I felt a weight shift at the foot of my bed. A second later, Cooper jumped up onto the mattress and curled up right against my chest, growling softly at the darkness. If Cooper was on my bed with me, what was making the noise on the floor? I froze. I didn't reach for the light. I just stared into the shadows at the foot of my bed, my eyes slowly adjusting to the moonlight filtering through the blinds. That's when I saw it. There was a man. He wasn't standing. He was crouched on all fours like an animal, his forehead resting against the footboard of my bed. He was perfectly still, except for his hand, which was slowly reaching up to grip the edge of my duvet. I couldn't even scream. My throat felt like it had closed up. I watched as he slowly began to pull himself up, his eyes reflecting a dim light like a predator's. He had taken his shoes off. They were sitting neatly side by side on my rug. He had been in my house long enough to get comfortable. He had entered through the tiny laundry room window. He had stripped off his jacket and left it at my kitchen table, then spent who knows how long watching me and my daughter sleep from the hallway before coming into my room. When I finally found my voice and shrieked, he didn't run. He just stood up, staring at me for 5 long seconds, and then calmly walking out of the room. The police caught him 2 blocks away. He was a local man with a history of trespassing. They found a set of my daughter's pajamas in his pocket. I haven't left the window open since, not even in the heat of summer. It was Friday, March 13th. I was 14 at the time, living in a standard single-story house with my mom. That night, she was working a double shift at the hospital, so I was home alone. I wasn't scared. I had done it a dozen times before. I spent the evening in my room, sitting on my bed, doing my homework. Around 9 p.m., I went to the kitchen to grab a snack. I noticed the sliding glass door in the living room wasn't fully latched. It was open maybe a half an inch. I didn't think much of it. I figured my mom had taken the dog out earlier and forgot to pull it tight. I slid it shut, locked it, and went back to my room. For the next few hours, I kept hearing these tiny, muffled thuds. It sounded like it was coming from right underneath my feet. I told myself it was the house settling or pipes beneath the floorboards. At 11:30 p.m., I turned off my lamp and got under the covers. That's when the settling stopped and the movement started. I felt a sudden, distinct shift in the mattress, like someone was pressing their shoulder up against the wooden slats from below. Then, I heard a heavy, ragged breath. It wasn't coming from the hallway. It was coming from directly beneath my pillow. I went cold. I didn't reach for the light. I didn't even breathe. I just slowly rolled off the bed and back towards the door, staring at the dust ruffle. In the dim light of the street lamp outside, I saw the fabric move. A hand, pale and shaking, reaching out from under my bed frame and gripping my carpet. I didn't wait to see the rest. I ran to the bathroom, locked the door, and dialed 911. When the police arrived, they found a 25-year-old man named Christian tucked underneath the crawl space directly underneath the bed frame. He had entered through the sliding glass door earlier in the evening and had been laying there for nearly 4 hours. The police found a small digital camera in his pocket. When they checked the footage, they found photos of me sitting on the bed doing homework from earlier that night. He had been holding the camera out from under the bed, taking pictures of me while I was sitting just inches above him. He didn't want my computer. He didn't want my TV. He just wanted to be as close to me as possible without being seen. It was Friday, October 13th, 2017. I had just gotten home from a long shift at the hospital and was exhausted. My apartment was on the ground floor, and because the weather was unusually warm for October, I left the back sliding door unlocked after letting some fresh air in earlier that evening. I was in the shower, the water was hot, and the bathroom was thick with steam. I'm one of those people who keep the bathroom door closed to trap the heat in. Everything felt normal until I reached for my towel. I looked at the frosted glass in the shower door. Usually it's just a blur of white steam, but there was a dark shape pressed against the glass. It was a distinct silhouette of a person standing right outside the shower, perfectly still. My heart stopped. I thought maybe it was my boyfriend coming home early to prank me, so I called out his name. No answer. The shadow didn't move. I stayed in the shower what felt like an hour, though I'm sure it was probably 30 seconds. Finally, I mustered the courage to slide the door open, just a crack. The bathroom was empty. The door to the hallway was wide open, even though I knew I'd shut it. I wrapped a towel around myself and grabbed my phone, locking myself back into the bathroom to call the police. While I was on the phone with the dispatcher, I looked at the mirror. It was completely fogged over, except one spot. Someone had wiped a circle into the steam to look through. And right next to the circle, there was a fresh, damp handprint on the glass. When the police arrived, they found the back sliding door standing wide open. They had caught a man hiding in the bushes just outside my bedroom window. He had the spare key to my house in his pocket, a key I kept in a hide-a-stone near the back porch. The police told me he had been in the apartment for at least 20 minutes. He hadn't touched my purse or my laptop. He simply walked in through the unlocked door, found the key, and then went to the bathroom and waited for me to get out of the shower. He didn't want my money. He wanted to be the first thing I saw when I stepped out into the room.
Thanks for watching. If you have a true story, send it to acestruestories@gmail.com. If you have an idea for a future video, leave a comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, there's always another story.